ready to dive in. All right, here we go. Lay Ill Kid at OneYoungsta holding it down, bringing the street geek and nerd soul. What is up, my people? Today, all year, coming with another wonderful episode of That's Right, On Screen We Chilling. We about to talk about some Black Lightning. Episode 7, Painkiller. But I'm joined right over here. You know this man. All right, motocross champion 2020. All right, Winter Olympics, snowboarding half pipe, gold medalist.
Why you lying?
Stuntman to the stars. All right, Mr. Olympia 2016. I present to you Clement Bryant.
You lie. You lie. You lie. Why do you keep on lying?
That's a new one. The Mr. Olympia, I threw that in as a little sprinkle.
Why are you lying? Like, it's like, why are you lying?
That's a new one. That's an extra little piece I threw in there.
What's good, y'all? It's cracking.
Oh man, silhouetted animator in the house, Vulcan in the house. What do you think about this episode? All right, matter of fact, to the chat, let us know what you thought about this episode. Clement, where are you at on Painkiller? Please give me some good news.
Best episode of the friggin' season, as far as I'm concerned. You didn't like it?
I'm trying to think. You might be right. You actually might be right on this one.
Like, what you mean? I actually might be right on this. No,
one? What I mean is, I didn't like this episode, but this also might be the best episode of the season.
No, I love this episode because it was different.
This actually might be the best episode of the season. Now I'm thinking about it.
Like, okay, I like the storytelling of the Pierce family. Mm-hmm. I like the storytelling of Tobias Whale. I like seeing what's happening in Freeland, but also after almost 4.5 seasons, it's kind of like almost like 3.5 seasons. It's kind of like, okay, what else can they do? And this kind of shows like there's more stories to tell, not only in this side of the Arrowverse, but it's also like there's more stories to tell in Black Lightning's part of it, right?
Yeah.
And so the fact that I liked it because it also really showed how, Jordan can carry a show.
Yeah, my problems with this episode had nothing to do with Jordan, aka Khalil. Khalil, I've said was a leading man from a while back. Even I was like, yo, when I saw Khalil doing his fight stuff last season, or I guess technically season before last and last season, I was like, yo, man, I think we could do another Last Dragon and have my man doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, have Tiamat come back. He's the old Last Dragon. He got to pass on the power of the dragon to another young brother. Like, my issues with this episode ain't got nothing to do with him. I actually like him in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I like it, and like you get to the end, you really see like a different side of Painkiller of Painkiller that you really didn't see before. That I think a lot of Black men will relate to, specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Vulcan came through, said this episode was cool to me. I just don't like the ending of the episode.
The ending was like, I was like a little bit like, oh wow, really? But also like, oh wow, really? Like it was like a little bit of, but like, I generally like this episode, and I think like after Black Lightning is canceled, I really think they should consider bringing Nafessa and also the woman who plays Grace into like, full cast for the Painkiller spinoff if it gets picked up.
Okay.
It seemed like it just felt right having them all there. You know what I mean? And so, like, let's call it what this is. This is the backdoor pilot episode for Painkiller. So, if it gets picked up, I really think they should consider bringing the two of them and making them like full-time cast members, because that vibe just felt really right to me.
Yeah, I didn't mind. What is it? Khalil and Thunder together. I thought they were cool. I liked how kind of Khalil was working through his issues with Painkiller in his mind. I like that. I like that moment where he said, "I lost her too," talking about Painkiller saying like, "I lost my mom too," because of course, Bill Duke forced him to kill his own mother to make sure that the power, the control worked. So him speaking in his mind to the evil side was like, I lost her too, and like having that moment where he just wanted to like end it all. That actually meant something. It actually provided greater context to the Painkiller side, knowing that like, oh, he's not just the Terminator. Like there is something there. There is a heart beating there.
Yeah.
My issue with this episode.
Go ahead.
If these are the effects that we're going to use on the show, if these are the effects I don't want it. If these are the fighting, if these are like kind of like the stuntmen and the fight styles and the choreography you're going to use on the show, I don't want it. That kind of weird, slowed down, like hazy movement that they used to do back in the 90s. I was like, what am I watching now? I was like, whoa, no. This is 2021. And the dude actually has the ability to kind of like be mobile and do these fight scenes. Like, why are we slowing it down like this? We're slowing it down like we have someone who doesn't have like the training or something. Like this dude can actually do some cool moves. Let's not make this look cheap. And the episode looked cheap. Like from the shots in the Tesla driving to, what's it, Akashi? I can't remember exactly where they were. It's something like Akashi, something, apologies. But it looked cheap from there. Every shot outside in the city looked cheap. And I'm like, why didn't we just shoot this either on a set where at least there's real tangible things that you can touch and it looks better than this kind of like computer generated city? And man, why did we have like the bargain basement fights? Painkiller is dope. Please call the people that were working on the first 2 seasons of Arrow, have them come back and work on the fight scenes for this. They were doing fine. Or call the people that worked on the Raid and the Raid 2. There's many different like shows or movies with fight scenes that like got crazy choreography. Painkiller is supposed to be this super like karate gun Terminator master. Like you gotta come on. You gotta come on. Like between those two things, it kind of hurt me.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate with you. I think I feel you, but it's also, we gotta remember this is a show of a budget of a different show. I think one.
Okay, so they have to work with the budget that Black Lightning had for the. Okay. All right.
That's one thing. The other thing is, I would love to have the cats that did the Raid in it, but you're also talking feature film versus TV. Whereas, like, if you got the Arrow crew from the first 2 seasons to do it, you might have something. And I think as far as the CG, it's like, even though the CG was what it was, that was the CG that kind of helped me break out of the whole Black Lightning mental, where I'm like, okay, this is an episode of Black Lightning. Help me see it as like a separate entity of a spinoff. So,
like, or even do something where, and I know they shoot mostly in Atlanta, but even if they just did exterior shots in like, where do they shoot the other stuff? Montreal? Where do they shoot the other stuff?
With the other Arrow shows?
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Like, even if they shot the other, exterior shots in Vancouver and then filled stuff in the background with like either matte painting or CGI, the city would look different, but it wouldn't look cheesy. It wouldn't, you know what I'm saying? It looked worse than a video game. And I was just like, it took me out of it.
I'm a little nicer about it because I'm just like I see what I have to see what they're working with on a day-to-day basis. So like
true.
I think I'm more hesitant to rip it for that rather than be like, what were they working with and why does it look like this? And why does it look like it's like a cutscene out of a video game rather than like the actual world, right? So like, and I'm not gonna knock them for that because at least for me, I see what they're going for and what they're trying to build to. So, and also given the record of the CW's track record of picking up spinoffs, I want this spinoff to go forward. So it's kind of like
I forgot. I didn't even think about it. This probably ain't even gonna get picked up.
And that's the thing. And like they have a good cast. You have the cat Alexander Hodge, who was in Insecure. He looks like he's adding a good like kind of balance to it. And even the cat, I forget what his name was, but the cat with those like earrings. Like I really dug the like backstories that they're setting up. So like I want to see it go forward and see what they can actually do with a full budget and not a budget that's kind of earmarked for one episode. A full budget.
I got you. And Kevin Jones said you could tell where the majority of the budget for this season went, and also said it was like Afrocentric cyberpunk. Yeah, I'm down with that. It's just that it was. I just got like 90s effects vibes, and I was like, from the first shot when they're in the Tesla, and I'm like, something's wrong with the depth on this shot. I was like, I don't know what it is. Something's wrong with this shot. And then I started looking around. I'm like, hold up. Are they on a green screen? Then I was like, you know what? It's probably just from this shot. And then I was like, oh, no. They try to make this whole city. I was like, oh, man, come on. Why are you going to do my brother like this?
And it started to look so realistic when they got to the end of the episode. Yeah. Where you saw like looking out the window and looking at like, it started looking a little bit realistic. And maybe that was because daytime scenes are easier to put than actual nighttime scenes as far as CG, what it looked like.
Yeah, especially with all those neon lights and stuff. It just makes it look. It just made it look worse. But the daytime shot did look better.
Right. It's like they were trying to do something out of like Akira, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Neo Tokyo, rather than just being like you're saying, like green screen and fill it in and do all the effects and like build it up. Like, so like I get what you're saying, but it's also kind of like I want to see it go forward to see what they can do with it, because I think there's enough promise there that they can build on what they've established and take it and build upon it and go in different directions with it. And I will say the fact that they made Maya Odell's daughter, that really does intrigue me. I gotta be honest.
I don't know how I feel about that. On one hand, it makes sense because Painkiller doesn't have the closure of sticking a fork in Odell.
Right. And that's the part of it that I'm like, when he finds out.
But then it's one of those things where it's like, all right, this person's gone. Psych, they're back. And I'm just like,
really? Like, I felt that. But I could see like that being a good plot point for the show.
I could. Yeah, I'm not mad about it. It's just one of those things where I hate when shows do the like he's dead, psych, he's back kind of thing. So I'm not against it. But I was just like, oh man, he is back. But that could prove to be an interesting dynamic depending on how much of a subordinate of her father is she, you know what I'm saying? Things like that. So, it could be interesting to see how it goes. So I'm not super against it, but I'm just like, I really wanted something new. I wanted to move on from last season and let last season be done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know there's thematic things that follow through, like Tobias is still around, but I wanted Painkiller to go on to something new. And I feel like we're kind of dragging the baggage
I
from
get that.
last season into this. You know what
I
I'm
get
saying?
I get that, but it's also with Khalil specifically,
Uh-huh.
Odell messed that man's life up. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah. Because there's really two people. It's Tobias and Odell.
Right.
Yeah.
So Odell coming back, it's like it felt like, oh really, but also it makes a narrative sense to me because he was behind his mother dying. I don't care who you are. If some dude makes
Yeah.
me kill my mother,
Yeah. That's
I'm
so yeah.
definitely not that.
He
Like,
it'll be satisfying for him to end, hopefully, in that chapter in his life between
yeah,
him and Odell, if he ever does. You know, depending
right.
on how this pilot order, unless they've already ordered a season. I can't remember if they've ordered a season or not,
I
or
don't
at
know if they
least
remember if they wanted it or not,
yeah.
but like you
Now,
pilot, that's how it works. You see how the pilot works and then how people
mhm,
respond to it, and then you go from there. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. There
So
is something that I wish was kind of different.
shoot.
I know every one of our heroes has to have like a layer or something. I Kevin Jones said this is why you shouldn't let your big bads live. Thank you. Like Wonder Woman be like, when I have problems, I deal with them. Nah, but I, I know every superhero has to have their layer, but
Yep.
like it just looked kind of budget and struggle. But I know he out there. He just trying to get his mind right. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I just feel like I don't know. I wanted Painkiller to have some love, and then when I look, I'm like, why does stuff look budget? And not budget like a good budget, not budget like was it District 9 or whatever, that movie where Neil Blomkamp like a long time ago came out. That was a
Yeah.
small budget movie, and you're like, oh snap, he kind of killed it with this budget. Now it's not that kind of budget. It's budget like, bruh, like y'all
It was
might have
like
wanted to just sit on this one.
it was
You're
like
like,
9 million. It was like something crazy. Like I know 9 million. When you hear my million, you're like, oh, that's a lot of money. I'm like, but for a movie,
for a movie, for a sci-fi movie that he pulled off, it's kind of like, oh, hold up, like he kind of did his thing.
right,
Shouts to
right.
Norfolk. Oh man, I saw that movie in Norfolk at I can't think of the name of the theater, but shouts to Norfolk for that one. But
So yeah,
um,
so it's still in development,
okay, okay.
but and that I guess so that's like why I'm kind of like, where are they gonna go with it? I think the one thing that really intrigued me the most is how they built up the relationship between Painkiller and who Khalil is, and the
Yeah,
mental anguish. And I think that like I took it as a metaphor for like what black men go through every day, right?
yeah. I, I
Oh,
I'll give you that one. I did like that dynamic
that
and
dynamic
how
is really dope.
because sooner or later, I remember talking about this like last year. I'm thinking sooner or later they're going to have to come back together because they are two parts of a whole to a certain degree.
Yeah,
So they are going to have to become one sooner or later. At least I'm thinking. But this kind of dynamic between these two is an interesting dynamic that I do dig. Um, Kevin Jones said, "Just imagine what it would be like if it had the budget of Superman and Lois or Stargirl." True,
right. And
true,
that's the part of it that I'm like I
true.
heard so much bad things about Superman and Lois before I watched it, and then I watched it, I was like, yo, Superman and Lois is actually pretty straight. And I heard about the writer things, and believe me, I'm aware of it. But also, the show is pretty straight. The tone is when you get into it, you're like, this makes sense for Superman. Same
Word,
thing with
word.
Stargirl was really dope, but they also had the budget of having a streaming service and not
Mm,
broadcast TV. So
yeah, that that just in general because even
hmm,
throughout the good years, you could tell like Flash and Arrow kind of had the budget, and Black Lightning was like yo, we just gonna be on the street fighting. Like, like, like,
Flash gets it all. Legends gets some of
yeah,
it, and
yeah, because
like
I don't think I'd make the argument that I don't think Black Lightning has ever seen the budget of like what was it, season 1 or season 2, where it was like Arrow and Flash versus Reverse Flash. It was like no, it was like Arrow, Firestorm, and Flash versus Reverse Flash. It was crazy, but I don't think Black Lightning's ever seen that budget.
no. And if it does, most of it goes to the effects of Black Lightning, Thunder, or Lightning. So it's kind of like that's where it goes. So like with them spending all of that money, especially for a show that's in its last season, it really didn't surprise me that it looked like that.
Word.
For me,
I guess for me, I just figure this is our last hurrah. Let's go out with a bang. Let's kill it. Let's, you know what I'm saying, give them all we got. And from a writer standpoint, it seemed lackluster. From effects, it seemed lackluster. I'm gonna pull up a writing thing that I thought was a problem a second ago. But real quick, Kevin Jones asked, what do you think about the fact that they gave Painkiller a demonic voice to separate him from Khalil?
That makes sense to me because
I wasn't super against that. At first I was like, and then I was like, well, I guess he's supposed to be the meaner Terminator version, I guess. So well, I guess so. It was better than the Batman voice from Bale. So I guess there's that.
But I also think it's like it's the worst part of himself that he doesn't want to like. But at the end of the episode, they come to an agreement that, okay, I actually don't like you, but I need you.
Yeah.
So
I, we'll see where that goes. I'm not super keen on it, but I don't hate that either. There was one part of the writing that I didn't dig where it kind of falls in this like weird trying too hard to be woke on this season that they've done, where they've done it great through the first 3 seasons, like aligning with what goes on, and then this season it's been like, who's been in charge? Like, who's checking this mess? But there's a moment where Khalil and the guy, I can't remember his name, are arguing back and forth about what he's done for him and what he's doing now. The Asian guy, right? And the Asian guy fires back and says something to the effect of, I'm not your Asian tech boy, or something like, you just want me to be your Asian tech boy. And I'm like, what? Khalil hasn't done anything racist. He's saying, I saved you. And you said, since I saved you, you would do this. And I'm telling you that you need to own up to your end of the bargain. I saved you, do this. I ain't say nothing about you being Asian. We ain't never seen Khalil do anything, any Asian or racist stuff. So bringing that up seemed like they were trying to bring it up to prove a point to an audience through a character that never represented the point that they were trying to make. And I don't mind them making a point for Asian tropes, but Khalil isn't the character to do it on. Khalil's never been like that. And even in the argument that we're having, he himself never brought up anything where like Khalil was ever saying like, yeah, since you Asian, you're gonna be my computer man. Like, no. So that part, I was like, where did that come from? I was like, once again, it sounds like a situation where they're like, yo, we want to make a moment. We want to make a moment about like Asian propaganda or Asian tropes. And I'm like, cool, let's do it. All right, we're going to do it through Khalil. But Khalil's never been racist. But it still makes sense because they're going back and forth. I was like, is Khalil racist now? Nah, don't worry about that. But it don't make no sense if Khalil ain't racist, because you're going to be trying to make a racist point on a character who ain't racist or has never been racist, and it's now the 4th season of him not being racist, but you want to make a racist point. It would be better, let's make this dude make this point to someone else, not to Khalil. But yeah, that was weird. It just jumped out at me. I was like, because they were arguing back and forth, and I was like, all right, you know what I'm saying, dude, the people in the crew fight, you know what I'm saying, you got Cisco and Barry, they butt heads from time to time, stuff like that. But then when he threw out the like, the Asian, like, you want me to be your Asian tech guy or something to that extent, like paraphrasing. I was like, what?
Considering who wrote it,
I was like, where'd this come from?
Considering who wrote it, I'm not surprised.
Who wrote it?
Salim.
Really?
Just looked it up. Salim wrote it. So,
but that makes no sense to.
But that's Salim though. I'm not surprised. Like that's Salim's vibe.
I don't mind that being the vibe. You're making the point on a character that doesn't make sense though. Khalil's never been a racist person. Maybe if he wanted to make that point to another character that maybe we didn't know, but that character knows. Like say that guy that they tracked down that was in the telephone booth, that guy. Like say they tracked him down and he made like some kind of kind of allusion to him being good at technology because he was Asian or something. And I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. This character knows this guy, but we don't. So he can make that statement about him being like racist towards Asians or something like that. Or even a situation where he doesn't realize he's being racist towards Asians. But I'm like, that's not Khalil's standpoint. Khalil was like, yo, I saved you, right? Yes, you saved me. And you said because I saved you, you was going to do the technology stuff, right? Yes. So then I saved you. Why you ain't holding up your end of the bargain? That has nothing to do with being. That was just weird. Salim been catching L's all this season though, because that Breonna Taylor stuff was whack. That I Can't Breathe stuff was whack, and I don't know. He been I guess on the sauce this season. I don't know what's going on, but like I don't know. Like Salim he been tripping.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, he wrote the first 2 episodes. And then, oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong season. So he wrote the first episode, and then Charles D. Honlin wrote the second one. So like, I mean, we'll see.
It just seemed weird to me. They didn't go down that trope again, but it just seemed weird. It just jumped out like, hold up, what? I'm like, Khalil isn't like that.
Like it's like him putting Khalil in his place and being like, yo, back off. I've tried to do all this stuff for you, even though, yes, you've done X and Y and Z for me. Step off.
Yeah, but making that point, like throwing a racial bend in that pushback doesn't make sense on a character that's never been racist. Even a character that hasn't been racist in a way where he's racist but doesn't realize he's being racist, Khalil's never come off like that. Like, so it just seemed weird to me. Like, I don't mind the argument. The argument makes sense. But just that when he threw in that like Asian piece, I was like, what did Khalil ever do that I was like, okay, all right, if you want to make this right, if you want to write this part at your, character's expense, where it's like, you know what it reminded me of? Not this bad, but it reminded me when they did the thing with Omoisha with the dad when they made remember when they made Ray J Frank when they made Ray J his son and they were like, oh, you was my son. It's like, whoa. And even the guy who was the actor of Frank that time was like, this is a complete abandonment of the character. Like, this isn't the type of character that we've grown to know. So it just stood out to me like that. Besides that, I like the kind of setup that they did. With more money, I'm down with it. With better fights, I'm down with it. This is someone who has a gun and a sword. I'm like, yo, let's go. Let's have some dope fight scenes. And I felt like we kind of got a microwave fight scene. And I was ready for more. I was like, oh yeah, got a room full of dudes. It's gonna be beating down people. Like the nameless bad guys. Like bad guy number 1, bad guy number 10. Like it's like, but we know it's gonna be dope. He's gonna be flipping people, throwing people, busting people in the head. I'm ready. And then when they did that like slow-mo, kind of like hazy, I was like, nah, bruh. I was like, we ain't going back to the 90s on this one. I do like the bad guy. I'm on the fence about Odell being back. I guess it makes sense to me. I'm willing to see where this goes. I'm not against it. I want to see where it goes. Just don't do the,
And
don't
I think
do
we'll
don't do the
see.
effect thing. Those effect things, like actually, just find a city that's close to Atlanta or whatever, where you can do it, or like shoot Atlanta from another angle, or shoot it in Atlanta and then just fill in the back with like matte painting or something. Figure out a way to like make Atlanta look different, and because like the kind of virtual world that because with a TV schedule, I don't think they have the time to make it look as real as it should.
And that's why I go a little bit softer on broadcast TV than I do streaming, because also broadcast TV has so many limitations, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like whereas like some people, and this is stuff that I see, some people compare a Falcon and Winter Soldier to like Arrowverse. And I know that you're not making that, but it's also kind of like, I think like I go because like the constraints of broadcast TV and the time and the money aren't there when you have streaming. Which Disney's is why making like people will be like, some people, a lot of the general public will be like, okay, why I have 2 quality seasons of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, for example, right? Not that we have a second season. I'm just making a point.
I'm pretty sure we're gonna get a second one. The way Disney talking about the success of it, we probably gonna get a second season.
We'll see, but WandaVision was successful too. But it's just like, and then some people will be like, okay, I have 4 seasons of this, but it's not great. And I'm like, you can't compare streaming budget to you can't make the same thing. So I think it's like, while yes, I would love the fight scenes to be killing here, I would love to be everything like streaming level, and I'm like, they probably ain't got that amount of time.
Disney's pulling in at least. At the very least, Disney's pulling in $800 million a month from Disney Plus.
Right. Whereas you're talking
their streaming service is $8 a month, unless they went up. I think it's $8 a month or $7 a month, and they already have over 100,000 subscribers. So that means every month they're pulling in around $700 million just for the subscription service alone. That's why I was like, you pulling in all this money, you don't need to charge nobody no $30, dude. Like, you don't need to do that.
We're talking without that premium access. So it's like, I guess my point is, and like Kevin Jones says, Marvel and CW leagues apart totally, and that's not what I'm saying.
Totally.
I'm saying like, with the competition that we have of streaming versus broadcast, I think you got to sometimes take a step back and be like, all right, this is not what a streaming show would be. Because
we gotta remember what TV budgets are. Right. Like, whereas Amazon got mad money, Netflix got mad money, Disney got mad money. And Disney doesn't have the problem that Netflix has in having to secure rights to other properties. Even though Netflix has been working fast to change that. Like, Netflix has their own animated series. Netflix has been working fast to change it. And they got a couple of hits. You know what I'm saying? Where, especially with the Millar world, Mark Millar stuff. Mark Millar, I hope they update a little bit. Mark Millar, when it comes to dealing with women, dealing with women and black people, Mark Millar got some issues. But that was also before he's been brought. I'm sure they'll update it, and but you got all the Millar world properties. Stuff like Castlevania is probably one of the best animated, like video game adaptions ever.
Witcher 2, like, I guess my whole point is, I'm not trying to go off on a tangent, but it's like TV, whereas like you could be really hard on broadcast TV, and I'm not saying I'm not saying that you shouldn't be hard or you shouldn't be hard on broadcast TV, but it's also like, don't get conflated with quality broadcast can with what's streaming, especially when we're talking about a superhero show, because like even Flash, for all of its money, still sometimes looks like it's a computer animated video game.
True, very true.
So
Like
this is why,
when they had King Shark on that joint, I was like, ah.
right,
I was
exactly.
like, but I'm gonna roll with you. I'm gonna roll
So,
with you.
so I agree with all the points you're making, but I want to see if the show goes forward, what are they going to do with the show? And if it still looks like this for when they get a full season order, whether that is 13 to 22 episodes, it could even be 10 episodes. I want to see what they're going to do it. And I'm going to be honest, the CW's track record of not picking up a lot of broadcast pilots. We saw what happened with Supernatural twice.
Supernatural tried twice.
And
And
Green Arrow.
both of them were decent.
Right. And Green Arrow
probably had better budgets than this.
Right. Green Arrow and the Green Arrow and the Canaries, like that would have been a dope show. I was all for it. Didn't happen. So what's gonna happen with Painkiller? So I do have my criticisms of the episode, but I'm also thinking, where are they gonna go with it if it gets picked up? And that's the key. And I think that's
maybe broadcast needs to. I know broadcast loves its 22, 24 season, order. But maybe it's time to break that down, and you know what I'm saying, maybe it's time to be like, look, we're gonna cut this in half, and we're gonna stagger our shows, and seasons now are 12 episodes. So we could take that budget and stuff it inside of 12 episodes, make things look better. It's gonna be half short but twice strong. You know what I'm saying? So it won't be as long, but the quality will be better. Like, you know what I'm saying? Everything will look doper. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe that's the way. Maybe they need to cut it down or like even further, like FX, where you have like You have like 10 episodes. Where it's like, look, stuff is 10 episodes, it's short, but it's gonna be, it's gonna have some more money because you're condensing that money. Instead of trying to stretch that money to 24 episodes, you get to keep that money for 10.
And we saw what happened with the first 3 seasons of Black Lightning, where the writing quality of Black Lightning compared to Arrow and Supergirl was not even on the same level.
Yeah.
Sometimes like Black Lightning stood heels above what Supergirl and Flash were. So I guess my point is, cool, have the criticisms of an episode within the season, but once they get a full season pickup, where are they going to take it from there? And that's the important piece that it's important not to overlook, especially when you're talking about a show that has a black lead.
Yeah. And shouts to Silhouetted Animator. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you. Says, do you feel like Odell made his own comic accurate version of Hive? Also, where was the city in this episode located? That's a good question. I don't know. It was like Akashi Valley or something like that. So I don't know where it's located in reference to Freeland. At least I don't think let me know if they did. I must have missed it maybe. But I don't think they really said, oh, this is, 2 hours north of, Freeland or something. They didn't really, explain that. Hive would be interesting.
Yeah.
Hive, you know what? Hive could be really cool.
If they did it right.
I think Hive could be really cool and have a lot of younger, kind of like, I guess young adult operatives, and then of course Odell would be doing what he does best, which is kind of being like the orchestrator of, different, scary organizations and stuff, like CIA type stuff. I'm not against that. I kind of like that idea. I kind of like having Hive. I would definitely be up for that. That would give Khalil a lot of stuff to deal with, and hopefully have him deal with it on his own or with limited help, aka the help he has now. I got love for Flash, but I don't need everybody being Painkiller. I don't need everybody everybody and their mama having painkiller skills. maybe one more person, but like, dude, everybody was a speed. So I felt like I could roll through. Also, nobody ever locked Star Labs. People just walked up in that joint. And it was like, yo, what's up? What y'all doing? I'm like, yo, is there like a handprint, a retinal scan or something to get in this joint? Like, how are people just rolling up in here? But Hive, I'm 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 definitely down with it. I'd like to see a Hive kind of, maybe kind of like maybe that's where these kids that had, or I guess kind of like young adults had, their minds connected to like that kind of Hive behind the computers. I guess you could say that was it or part of it, and using sort of like this Hive mind technology to, warp the minds of these people into being like killers or whatever. Because trust me, if Odell could do it to Khalil, he wants to do it with someone else. So
Yeah.
you can have someone conflicted between saving their enemies and then also having to kill their enemies. Because like, you ain't gonna be able to say, you ain't gonna have time to be like, all right, hold up, stop, let me give you the antidote. Nah, you ain't gonna have time for that. Sometimes you're just gonna have to. So that could be interesting. I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't be against it. I think that could be something that would be fun to watch, and then have all these like different kind of powers that they're messing with people with. Because of course they trying to remember the end of this season, but I believe they also have a vial of that stuff that Lynn was working on. Yeah. I think, but I can't remember for sure. But yeah, that's I guess that's it. Any other stuff you digging from this episode? Want to touch on?
I like the relationship between Filky and his team, like between like Khalil and his team. I like the it feels natural. It feels like they're not like coming together for a cause out of nowhere, and they really made good points, being like filling in a little bit of the backstory about, okay, why is so and so with Khalil? Why is Filky with Khalil? What is their relation to each other? Are these just people that he just hired to work with him? But it seems like and he makes the point at the end of the episode where he goes, they're pretty much the only family I have now.
Yeah.
Which is a really good point, which is why I want to see where they're going to take those relationships. Because
he kind of saved both of them, so that's a cool thing. I like the closure that they, meaning Khalil and Thunder, got. Anissa needed this because this is a kid that she was like, yo, we were all friends. You were a friend of the family. You were my, sister's boyfriend. So much so that she ran away with you, like all this stuff. And, you also tried to kill me and her. So it was good to get that closure and see like where his head was and all this stuff, and that he felt that debt enough to go and save Grace. And then also him being like, Grace can handle herself, and like Grace, she did. She like hulked up and jumped out the table and started beating up people. So, I like that. I like that part. I will say I like that part.
Yeah, I think there's enough promise here to make like I don't want to say 22 episode because the material doesn't lend itself to that. But I'm thinking if you had 10 episodes.
Word.
A 10 episode first season, and you built upon it, and then at the mid, like 8 episodes into the season, you reveal that, okay, Odell has been pulling the strings through his daughter. Cool. Sets it up for the finale. I think that's a good way to set it up. And then after you get past that first season, then that's where you see them really start to really separate themselves from Black Lightning.
Good. I feel you. And Kevin Jones said, LOL, Grace rescued herself. Yeah, she did. She was like, hold up, what? Oh, let me get my powers up. Click it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm out this piece.
But yeah, I think there's going always to be a little bit of a Black Lightning connection because he is a Black Lightning character.
Yeah.
He's a Black Lightning character. So like, there's no getting away from that. It's just more of how are they building the world and how are they building the universe and the story to show them like, okay, yes, we are still in the Arrowverse. Yes, we're still affiliated with Black Lightning, but outside of that, this is its own thing. And I think that's what they are building towards. It seems like, but that is just my take on it.
Well, guys, hey, we have exorcised the demons. You know what I'm saying? At least a good amount of them. And we'll see what goes on with Odell, if this thing gets picked up or not. I haven't heard any news yet. But, of course, the news has been, you know, trending on Twitter has been full of other things instead of, like, CW news. So, you know, it might have been reported and just kind of gotten, you know, buried under other more important things or more pressing issues. Go ahead.
I said we won't probably hear anything until May. Upfronts are coming up.
Yeah. Shouts to the Silhouetted Animator, Vulcan, Andre Adkins, Kevin Jones, everybody who rolled through, anyone who comes through on the replay, anyone who's getting a lurk on, all that good stuff. Thank you for chilling. Of course, right here, you know him. My man, 100 grand, all right? Clement TMF Bryant.
TMF?
Oh, the TMF. Mother Bryant.
Oh. What am I, Shaft? Am I Shaft now? I'm a bad mother. Shut your mouth. No. What you doing, man? Why do you keep on like? No. Anyways.
Because we got to build each other up, man. It's brothers got to build each other up. You know what I mean?
You know what's going to build me up is sleep. That'll be all right.
Yo, sleep, I ain't going to front. Sleep is your friend in these streets.
Right now, bro. Like, I feel like molasses right now. But Twitter, Instagram, Clement Bryant. I am one of the hosts of the Black Lightning podcast, and I write from time to time for the Marvel Report.
What up? And NERD, SOUL, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all them places. Of course, hit that thumbs up if you like what you see. Hit that thumbs down if you don't. You hit that thumbs down, though, I'm going to send your boy Odell after you. All right? And don't sleep. Don't think that little breathing tube or whatever mean he weak. All right? Odell probably just doing that to pretend he weak. All right? Odell crazy. He probably done took some serum or something. Anyway, of course, we're going to leave y'all with PL and Arcatron. And from us to you, thanks for watching. We will be back tomorrow with Lounging, Saturday with Falcon and Winter Soldier, Sunday with Invincible, and whatever else. We got sports this weekend too. So look, we going to be chilling. So from us to you, thank you for watching and peace. Yeah, we out.
I'm the man, yes sir, that killed the bear barehanded so the people won't forget it. Getting money for I would label the drink. I care what a broke nigga think.
Just like the pack of Lewis.
Look, everything I do so cold. I can do this, both eyes closed. Too short, I stay on my toes. About that white boy, anything goes. Help the bear if we outside. Help the bear if we outside. Still tipping, baby, nothing changed. I'm still grinding over here, yeah. Still sliding through my own lane. Shorty, nothing funny over here. Dallas rain everywhere around me. Dream to get money. Made it through the storm, living sunny. Dreams came true, now we eating. I got more dreams to chase, gotta reach them. Trying to put a team together like the Hunger Games. Everybody grind together, we all came from Hunger.